Hey everybody, welcome back to Novelists Unwind. I'm Johnnie Alexander. I write historical fiction and contemporary romances, plus a couple cozy mysteries that are coming out in 2018. I'm very excited today to have as our guest, Michelle Griep, and share the fun things that she's doing with her stories and a little bit about her author journey. Michelle and I were both in a novella collection. Gosh, has it been 2 years now? Has it been that long?
Yeah, it seems like yesterday.
I know. Barber puts out all these wonderful historical romance novella collections, and we're in The Courageous Bride. So, if you haven't gotten that collection yet, you may want to do that. Michelle, it's so good to have you here.
It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, glad you are. Michelle is an author, a blogger, and I love this. She has it on her website. She is an occasional superhero when her cape is clean.
Yeah, it's not very often, I'm afraid, so I had to add that disclaimer. World needs saving. Cape's dirty. Sorry, find another superhero. There you go.
And she's a mom with 2 boys and 2 girls. And I love that you said boys actually are easier to raise unless you like drama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 2 girls and a son, and he's the baby of the family, but there's enough space between them that he kind of acts like an oldest sometimes. And I would totally agree with that. He was never in trouble.
Oh, I know. And in fact, go figure, my youngest daughter is in school for drama right now. So
Wow, that's exciting. Now, are all your children out of high school?
Oh, they are. They're all old. I started having them when I was like 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, my baby is 23 and she's finishing up her degree in theater of all things. So.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful though. How fun is that?
Yeah, she's the last one left at home.
That's cool. Well, we're going to start out with talking about Michelle's latest release, which I am so close to finishing, and it is such a fun story. I was sitting out on my patio reading.
Nice.
Michelle and I met at ACFW, the American Christian Fiction Writers Conference, a couple years ago, and we're both Dickens fans. I do think that Michelle's probably more Dickens-ified than I am.
Dickensian.
Dickensian, that's the right word, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. But
those authors and their words.
Just make them up.
I do, actually, often.
But when I saw that she was coming out with this book in it's called The 12 Days at Bleakly Manor, right? 12 Days at Bleakly Manor.
That is. Whoa.
There it is. And it's the first in, what's the name of the series?
The Once Upon a Dickens Christmas series.
I love that. That's so clever. Wish I'd thought of it. And I knew I had to read it.
Wasn't me.
Oh, was it you?
My publisher. I have to give them credit for that.
It's a great series, the title. It really is. So it's like, oh, and there will be more. So if you're a Dickens fan, and we were talking just before we started recording, this one is kind of related to Bleak House, and there's a wonderful BBC adaptation. If you don't want to actually try to read through the whole novel, you can watch it. It's just fabulous, and you get an idea of the story. But tell us about, it's one thing to be inspired by something that's happened or a movie that you love. We know a lot of people love Jane Austen, so we see all these Pride and Prejudice kinds of things going on, and others. But Dickens, why Dickens, and how did that lead to, is Bleak House your favorite movie? I just want to hear all about it. I want to know how this story came to be the story it is.
Okay, yes. As you mentioned, the BBC version of Bleak House is awesome. And I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I liked it better than the book. And here's why. Because they broke the scenes in different places than Dickens did. It's the same story. It's the same characters. They just broke the scenes a little bit differently so that it was like huge cliffhangers. Huge cliffhangers. So that movie inspired me. But Dickens inspires me because here's why. As much as I love Jane Austen, I'm a little bit more on the gritty side, shall we say? That's totally Dickens. I mean, he spent his time in the evenings, walking until the wee hours in the morning through the poorer areas of London and just observing people and being amongst them. And even his upbringing, he really had a heart for the downtrodden and for the real, not just for the upper class. And so that's why I chose Dickens. He's awesome.
And Bleak House is about a court case, and so in writing that, even though at the time it was said that his circumstances were exaggerated, and they probably were, because he's making a big point, but it did lead to judicial reforms. So I mean, he was quite the social reformer too.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, he had his stories painted pictures for the people at Broad to be able to grasp what was really going on in the judicial world, and especially the plight of the poor and in workhouses and such. He brought it to light.
He did. So it's really fun because in Michelle's story, you see similar names as this character. And of course, it's Bleakly Manor instead of Bleak House. So it's really, really fun. Did I ask, is that your favorite Dickens novel? Is that why you're going with it first?
It is. Yeah. I mean, everybody loves Christmas Carol, right?
Yeah.
I'm the quirky one who loves Bleak House the best. And I mean, most people say Great Expectations or Tale of Two Cities, what have you. No, I'm a Bleak House girl all the way through.
I think I'm with you on that one. I really like it, and I watch it every once in a while again because it's just so good. A lot of themes in it and all. So yours is more of an upbeat kind of story, though. Fun, delightful. Just I was intrigued from the very beginning. Set the stage for us how the story opens and what prompted this connection between Bleak House and this coin. And no spoilers. I mean, I'm not even for sure what the whole thing is with the coin yet, and I'm almost done with the story, but it was just so clever. So tell us how those two things came together.
Well, they came together. My publisher asked me to write this Dickens series, and so I was kind of mulling over what in the world should I write about. And at the time, I was rewatching all the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh yeah.
And so, I mean, who doesn't love Lord of the Rings?
Exactly, favorite.
And I thought, well, how can I kind of carry that theme of the ring, And since it's already been taken, I came up with this coin that tie the three stories together, because here's a little spoiler, that all three stories are going to be different characters and different stories.
Okay.
The coin will be the same.
Oh, it goes through each one.
Yes, the coin will be in each story. Oh, wow. So that's kind of what loosely ties the stories together. But I just love to pull a lot of favorites together. So I pulled together a little Tolkien, a little Dickens, and I pulled together some Agatha Christie because it's a lot like And Then There Were None, which is another one.
Exactly. I thought of that too as I was reading, because I love And Then There Were None. And it's such a fun mystery story, and that this is sort of like that. Not quite as isolated and not quite as many people, but it really was good. I was going to go back to, and I had to set my bookmark so I wouldn't lose it, your little opening thing. And I assume you wrote this, but I'm going to read this from my Kindle. Okay. It starts out, on a stormy night 2,000 years ago, a babe was born, and in a land far from that rugged stable, a coin was forged, both the bearers of a second chance. The God-man returned to heaven, but the coin yet roams the earth, passing from hand to hand, hope to hope. I love that.
I love the idea of God giving us a second chance, and that's exactly what He did with Jesus. And so, what better way to tie into the Christmas spirit?
Absolutely. So, what are the second two stories? What books are they based on?
I'm actually working on the second story right now. This close to being done. I'll have to take a break from it, so I'm this far from being done. The next book is called A Tale of Two Hearts, which is a play on the of course. It is very loosely tied to Tale of Two Cities, in that the hero's mother's French. That's about as close as I get.
Oh, really?
Really,
revolution going on then.
Yeah, no, I didn't go that route. Just gave him a French mom, but But I mean, it is the story of these two hearts of it's kind of a story of deceit, honestly.
Well, that's
Yeah.
Tale Two Cities. Yeah.
It is. So, so that's that one. The third one, still playing around with a name for that. Haven't landed on one yet, but that one's again loosely based on. Have you ever seen the series North and South? It's a BBC.
A long time ago.
Yeah, you need to rewatch it because
it's on Netflix.
Yeah,
it's always going across on my Netflix thing. I think, I need to watch that again.
Yeah. So the third one will be loosely based on that, but of course I'll tie it into Dickens. And in each book, Dickens does make a cameo appearance. You just never know when he's going to pop up.
Oh, I love it. So if you're a Dickens fan, you really want to stay on top of Michelle's books. They're coming out. This one came out last October, right?
This one came out in September.
Yeah.
The next one comes out next September.
Okay.
And then the following September.
So,
but in the meantime, I've got a ton of other books coming out. So.
Oh, good for you. Well, I was just going to say, if you'll love, I know, well, I'm holding up my Kindle. Michelle's got she's got the real book. I know if you love Dickens, historicals, and it's just fun. It's fun. Michelle has a real way with words, and it's just, it just takes you back to that time period. And I just have loved it. But she also has written at least one cozy mystery that I know of that I also read, Out of the Frying Pan.
Yep.
And it's fun, to read an author in different genres because you have a totally different voice in that story.
Totally different voice.
So different.
That one with a co-author, and it's a contemporary of all things, which I don't write. But it was a ridiculous amount of fun to write it. So.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, you could tell, and it's been a while since I read it, but it's a senior citizens community basically, and they're having to solve this. And these people are so energetic, and I was like, I'm just tired. I would get tired reading about them because they just were like this, and then I'd be like this as I was reading.
Yeah.
I need a break.
Right. Yes. Well, they're younger seniors.
They are younger seniors. Yeah.
Which isn't that far off for me, so I'm pretty proud.
It was great. It was great. How was it working with a co-author? How did that process work?
It was fabulous. It's a totally different animal to write a book with an author, but it was awesome in that it got done in like record-breaking time. She did the whole plot. She came up with the characters, and she gave me 2 characters to write their points of view, and she did the other 2. So she basically send me a scene, the gist of the scene, and said, "Here, write it." And then we kind of bounce back and forth, sending it back and forth, and so it was really fun. Yeah, fun. And there will be more coming for Fernand's. Yeah, first one was Out of the Frying Pan. The next one is Into the Fire.
Oh, of course.
And of course, there's going to be a little arson involved in this one, and a marriage. There's a wedding going on. So
wow. Is it continuing characters then? Yeah.
It is. It's the Casey and the detective are going to get married.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. But mostly you write historicals.
Yes.
And you have a ton of historicals.
I do. I switch between eras. I love Regency. I love Victorian. And for some odd reason, I'm also writing a little colonial during the French and Indian War era. And so, I'll hear commercial. Ready?
Yes. We want a commercial.
The Captive Heart. That one is about an English governess who comes over in 1770 and gets stuck living with this backwoods. He's a murderer. Just gotta say it. That was my first foray into colonial, and I love the rough and tumble roughness of that era. Sorry, I'm skipping over. I'm a better writer than a speaker.
No, you're doing great.
So anyways, my next, I've got a Regency coming out in March, and I have another colonial coming out, the Captured Bride, which is set during the French and Indian War era. Wow.
You've got a lot to juggle. How do you write more than one? Do you work on more than one story at a time?
I try not to. It's just, even writing them, chronologically, the characters get jumbled in my head. So I try to stick with one till I'm finished with it.
Too many voices, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what does your typical day look like? I mean, how much time do you spend researching versus, it's that whole thing too. Do you research as you write? Do you do a lot of research then write? What's your process?
Yes, both.
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 Okay.
I try to research before I write a story, but then I'm always researching while I'm doing the story. I love to travel to the places that I'm writing about. So like the French Indian War story that's coming out in June, I did a New York trip earlier this summer, upstate New York, and hit up all the French and Indian War forts that were there. So I like to go to the places.
Wow.
Going to England next May. Been there several
Hey.
times. So yeah, it's a combination.
Yeah. Wow. And so do you do word goals, page goals?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, about my day.
Yeah.
So, it depends on how close my deadline is, but I usually write every morning, except for Wednesdays. I teach on Wednesdays. I tutor. So Wednesdays are shot, but the other days of the week, I usually write for about 3 hours every morning. Try to get the scene done every day, if I can, and that's kind of my. Unless again I'm under a time crunch, then I have to write more.
And then it's all day long, all night long kind of thing.
Yeah, which kind of leads to burnout. So.
It does. Yeah, I've done that. It's not easy. Yeah.
No, not fun. Yeah.
No.
So the rest of my day, my mom is 96, and so I'm her caregiver. So I am frequently, taking her. Actually, after I leave here today, I'm taking her to the doctor. Yeah. So she takes a fair amount of time, and what else do I do? Walk the dog.
Yeah, tell us about your dog. She also talks about her dog.
I do. I love my dog. She's named after a Bleak House character. Miss Ada Claire is her name. Miss Ada Claire is a 3.5-year-old boxer, and she's awesome. Love my boxers. Yeah.
I love that she's named Ada Claire. That's such a pretty name anyway. And it's that character. Is that your favorite character in Bleak House?
No, you want to know who my favorite is? It's Mr. Smallweed. I love Mr. Smallweed. He's such a jerk. He is such a jerk. He is so ridiculous. I love him.
Sure. Okay, people, if you've not watched the movie,
you've got to see
Netflix, I imagine it is every once in a while. So yeah.
I first saw it on Netflix.
I did too. So maybe it's still there. And yeah.
Not sure. It's worth hunting down.
It really is.
I gotta put a plug in also for the new movie that I just saw that you didn't see.
I know.
The Man Who Invented Christmas, which is all about Charles Dickens. They did an awesome job really capturing the angst of what it is to be an author. All the characters are head and all the interruptions and such.
Cannot wait to see that movie. I'm just
go see it.
It'll happen in the next week or two for sure. So yeah, we're putting plugs in for that movie as well.
I know. Look at a lot of things. A lot of
Charles Dickens.
Well, here's another little marketing thing. Guess where I'm going? And you'll never guess because you don't know. I'm going to a Dickens Fair.
Wow.
In California. It's in the Bay Area, Daly City, which I have no idea where that is. Frozen tundra of Minnesota, and right now. But heading to San Francisco and attending this Dickens Fair. So I'll be taking lots of pictures.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect, but I think it'll be fun.
That's really, really cool. Dickens is a very interesting man. I mean, I've read a couple, not a couple, I guess one biography. And wasn't even really about him so much as about a woman that he may have had a long time relationship with. Yeah,
he wasn't a very virtuous man.
No.
But he was flawed, like we all are.
Yeah, he was.
It was real.
He had though a strong reputation as being quite the family man, which was a little bit different than the reality, which is interesting too.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he came from kind of a rough background himself.
Yeah.
Father being put in debtor's prison, him having to go work at the bootblackers place when he was only 11. So yeah, it was not an easy childhood.
No, but he was successful. Unlike a lot of authors, even the classical authors, he was successful in his day.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of drive, a lot of determination.
Mm-hmm. And
you need.
And you can just see it. I mean, really, I know he can be hard to read. The language is so different, but he's funny. And if you just can read it, there's so much humor in
He's
just
snarky. That's why I love him.
Yeah.
Snarky. Yeah.
And these names like Smallweed and it's just, that guy's so, I mean, it's not just that he's funny, he's just this caricature almost, and it's hilarious, and that Dickens can get away with it.
And his personification is amazing.
It is. It really is. It is true. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Let's go back to you have a story, and I don't remember now which one it was, that's about Dickens, that was inspired by Dickens and Sherlock Holmes. One of your early books?
Let's see. What was? Oh, yes, it was.
I know. It's like that's so many. It's hard to
rewind here.
I know, go back.
That was Brentwood's Ward. That one is.
I want to read it. It looks really fascinating.
Oh well, you should, because here's why. The second book in that series comes out in March.
Okay.
So you should read it.
I will.
That one's about a Bow Street runner. A Bow Street runner that was the first fledgling police force in London before the Bobbies and Metropolitan Police Force. And so this is about one of those officers. Actually, all three books are going to be. There's going to be 3 of them.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that one I thought, boy, it would be fun to kind of have a Sherlock Holmes fella back in kind of a Dickens era, and highlight some of the grittier parts of the Regency era, because when you think of Dickens, that's of course Victorian. Regency is earlier, Jane Austen, all the balls, and all the beautiful dresses, and yes, there was that. But there were a lot of other grittier things going on at the time. And so, so I kind of highlight some of those things.
Oh, that's great. Well, and that reminded me, going back to the book we're showcasing about Bleakly Manor. I mean, it starts out with this dear girl, afraid to stop in the, step in the what. It's like, oh my gosh, how fun is this? Let's just get this right out in the open. This was not all glamour. Like, there was horse manure everywhere.
As much as I like to write about history, thinking I don't want to live there.
Don't want to live there.
No, I like my controlled temperature. I like shower every day.
Exactly.
All nice.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I mean, you've just got all these ideas for stories. Do they just pop into your head? Does it come from research? Where
they come
from
everywhere. Here, there, it could be even just a little snippet. My very first book, way back when, came from an idea when I was driving home one night during this awful thunderstorm. It was like really bad. Things were flying past my windshield.
Oh
and
my gosh.
What is that up ahead in my headlights? Well, it was just a big branch flying by, but that gave me the idea of, what if it wasn't? What if it was like a knight? Because I love medieval times too.
Yeah.
Medieval. It's a time travel back to the medieval period. So it could come from something as simple as me being in a thunderstorm, or anything really. I mean, just talking to you, that could be an idea.
Who knows?
You may be a character in my next book.
Oh, please. I want to be. Yes.
Well, you know what? That's a fun thing. The aunt in Bleakly Manor, Aunt Deborah Mitchell, is actually a real person. She's one of my awesome readers who just found me online, and I had run a contest once, and I gave her the option of what she wanted for a prize. Did she want another book or what? Because she already had all my books, and she wanted me to name a character after her, so I did.
That's so sweet, and it's spelled differently. So how do you pronounce? Do you pronounce it Deborah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just spelled differently.
Yeah. Oh, that is so
fun to name it after a reader of mine.
Yeah. Oh, she'll treasure that forever. I mean, that's just so cool.
Yeah. Well, seriously, I could name a character after you. Nobody is.
Just make me fun.
Okay. All right. I can
maybe a little wicked. Just a little wicked.
Just a little tiny bit. Okay, I can do that.
I'm not very wicked in real life. So.
No, you're not. You're always smiley. You're a smiley.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I'm going to switch gears really quick because another thing I saw on your website was that you are a veteran of once a month cooking.
I am.
I seldom cook at all, so it's like, ugh. So what is that?
Okay, I'll let you know. When all my 4 kids were still at home, I also homeschooled them all.
Yeah.
And so fall was like the most horrific time of my year because I had to get school started and I had 4 kids and it was a circus. It was my circus, it was my monkeys, and I had to figure out a way, how am I going to feed these people without, throwing in a frozen pizza every night. And so a friend and I came across this system called Once a Month Cooking, where we got together for a day and we cooked 30 meals, 30.
Oh, wow.
And put them in the freezer. Now, the first time we did it, silly us, we thought, oh, well, we'll just start after dinner. We'll start like at 7. We'll be done by 10. That doesn't work. We were still at it at 4 in the morning, so don't recommend that. It does take a whole day to cook 30 meals, but it's really fun if you do it with friends, and it's so awesome to have those meals in the freezer because they're healthy and convenient. So win-win, right?
Win-win.
Yeah.
And so you guys, you did that for a prolonged period of time. That's cool.
We did. We would do it. We didn't do it every month, but the months that we knew, like for sure September, for sure December, any months that we knew were going to be busy,
that's crazy.
We would get together and cook. So yeah, it's a great way to do it.
So were you, when did you write your first book? Was that when your kids, obviously your kids were still at home, so you were homeschooling and writing and cooking once a month?
Yeah, I know. That first book came out in 2008. Hopefully I've grown as a writer since then. But it's still a fun story. Yes, I started writing because my kids were making me insane because I with them all the time. And so my husband, gracious man that he is, said, why don't you go away? And so I did. One night a week, he would watch the kids, make dinner, watch the kids, or pull out one of my frozen meals, watch the kids. And I would run away to the library, and I started out just reading books until I was reading. It's like, pride got in the way, and I thought, I could do better than this. So I gave it a whirl, and it's like, oh my goodness, writing a book is really hard. Yeah. That manuscript will never see the light. It was awful, but it gave me that taste for writing. Yeah. And so I started out just writing one night a week. That's it. Wow. Did my first book like that. And then it kind of grew from there. As my kids got older, I had more time to write until now. I can write every morning. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you have such a collection of books. I mean, it was fun to see that on your website. Just so many a variety. I mean, even with the historicals, there's different, like you said, different eras within the historicals. And
right.
That's fun. And you're really a very good writer. I mean, I love you. I love the energy of the mystery, and I love the language that you have used to just take me back into this Dickensian world. I mean, it's fabulous.
Oh, I love to play with words. Love.
You can tell it. It's really good. It's really good.
Thank you.
Well, one last thing that I always ask all my guests is once you are done with that novel and you've typed the end, what do you do to unwind?
Well, I love to read. Obviously, I think writers should be readers.
Absolutely.
A little bias of mine. So I got a stack like ceiling high of books to be read, even though I try to still read while I'm writing. So that's a great way to unwind. Traveling, love to travel with my husband. So
good.
San Francisco next week and England in May. So
what fun.
I know, traveling. Family, love my kids to pieces, and they live, almost all of them live nearby. One flew the coop to Denver, but he comes back like 4 or 5 times a year. So we do a lot of family activities, even though they're grown up, because they love to be together, and I love having them. So they're pretty here over at my house.
I envy that. I do. My kids grew up in the Orlando area, and I had one rule. You cannot go north of the Mason-Dixon line, and you cannot go west of the Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
So out of the 3, 2 of them are west of the Mississippi.
Oh, naughty.
I know.
So much naughtiness.
It's like, really?
Well, good news, it gives you vacation destination points, right?
It does. holiday season. Like I'll be going up to Memphis to my sister's just in 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll go to my son's in Tulsa for Christmas, and I'm spending a week there, and then I'm going to Sierra Vista in Arizona, where my younger daughter lives with her family, including 2 adorable granddaughters. So, and I'll be there a couple weeks, and then I've got this little Pontiac Vibe that's got 168,000 miles on it.
Nice.
I just go around, putting along.
But hey, none of them went north of the Mason-Dixon line, right?
Pardon?
Did any of them go north?
Not permanently. Jill and her family lived in Cincinnati for a while, and I grew up in Ohio, so that was kind of okay, but because we have family up there too. But it was just it was just the thing I would tell them. Now my older daughter and her family do live within like a mile from where I am right now, which is really, really nice. So that's good.
Yes. Yeah. My other 3, they're all within a mile. So.
I love that. I just love it when families and are close and enjoy each other's company and stuff like that, which we do too, but we just don't get to do it all together very often.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, this has been so much fun. I just love your story. I'm probably going to go finish it because I'm almost done.
Grab a cup of tea, be in the Christmas spirit.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
Oh, awesome to be here. Thanks.
And for everybody, I just thank you too for being with Michelle and me today. And we'll see you next time on Novelists Unwind. Bye-bye.
Bye.